Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the most important parts of the entire project. This is the long anticipated section where we're going to be actually building the damn thing that we're going to be selling, okay? I'm going to walk you guys through how to build the voice AI and everything before it and everything after it. Right now, we're going to actually jump into it, and this is what we're going to be using to build the voice AI system. The platform I'm on right now is Vappy. I already told you guys earlier that I was going to be using Vappy, but so the first thing I'm going to do is you guys are going to get to see me literally do this from scratch. We're going to be creating an account and setting everything up as if I was in your shoes. So that way you guys can just follow along and do everything that we're doing right now. So the first thing you got to do to get to this in the first place is search for the word Vappy on retail, and it's going to be vappy.ai. Okay. Once you click into that, you're going to see a dashboard that looks like this. And on the top right, you're either going to see open dashboard or log in or create account, depending on what the hell is going on. Click on open dashboard, and then you should see a page that looks something like this. Now, at this point, if you have never logged in before, you're going to want to click the sign up button at the bottom down here, which is going to prompt you to sign up. And as always, we're going to be doing the same thing we've always been doing, is signing up through Google. So I'm going to click Google. Now, this is where you need to select your Google account that you want to sign up to Vappy with. But at this point, I'm not going to select TestingMan397, literally just because I know previously I did a test and I already created a Vappy account for it. So just to simulate what it would actually look like when you're creating a Vappy account for the very, very first time, I'm going to click on this NMAR at openstepai.com. And that way, at this point, you're going to get a real live view of what creating an account actually looks like. So once you select your account and you click into it, you're going to see a dashboard that looks like this. Now, there's a lot of things going on here, okay? So many different things on the left side, so many things in the middle, and then all of these different settings. What we're going to do right now is just going to briefly go over this dashboard so that way you know what you're looking at before you click into it, all right? Obviously, you don't want to be a dumbass when you're touching things. So now I'm going to make sure you're not a dumbass when you're building your voice AI system. The way we're going to do this is by clicking on, so the very first thing you have at the top left is your organization settings, okay? You guys can see it says this is my email and this is my org, and you can see that you get to switch organizations if you have multiple accounts. Maybe you manage multiple Vappy organizations, you can switch directly from here. Right under that, you have your account settings, and then you have the general org settings for your account. This is for the organization, this is for your specific account. So let me click on account settings, and you're going to see a few different things here, okay? You're going to see your profile, this is your email, and then obviously we don't have a password because we chose to sign up with Google. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to disconnect them and just have your own password, you can put a password here, click update, and then it'll just do that for you. Here you also have the option to delete your full Vappy account if you wanted to. For some reason, whatever that may be, you can delete it down here. Now let's look at the very top, and I'm pretty sure org settings, like this page right here, you get to it from either of these buttons, right? You can click on settings and it will take you here, and click on account settings and it will take you here. You guys can see nothing changed. They have both of them on the same exact page. This is going to be all the settings affecting your entire org. So if I click on the very first tab, you're going to see a few different fields here. You're going to see your org name, the email, and then you're going to have these two fields right here, which is going to be your specific organization's ID and your wallet ID. There's not many use cases that you're going to be needing these for specifically when you're building voice AI. But if for some reason you're, wanting to contact Vappy and they're like, what's your organization ID? That's where you find it. It's going to be in the org settings. This tab right here, you guys should not even care about. I'm not even going to bother explaining what's the difference between these two. You guys are not developers, and this is a little bit of a complex thing. It does not matter. You're just going to leave this at daily. This is not something that you're going to be playing with at all. Now, the field right under it is call concurrency limit. What does that mean? It means this is how many phone calls that your Vappy instance can take at the same exact time. Let's just say you built a voice AI agent. That voice AI agent, that one agent, can handle 10 phone calls happening at the same time without any limits. As soon as the 11th phone call goes to that voice AI, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. And the reason why is because there are limits to how many phone calls can happen concurrently at the same time based on specific plans that you get from Vappy. So if you're dealing with a situation where there's going to be 50 people calling the same exact voice AI agent at the same exact time, you want to make sure you know what this number is. Obviously, any number more than 10, you're not going to be able to handle that phone call. But it helps to know that you can handle 10 phone calls simultaneously at the same exact time. And that's not just through one agent, by the way. That's just across the entire organization. So let's just say you have 4 agents, right? The first agent is handling 3, and the second one is 3, and the third one is 3. So at this point, you're at 9. And if that fourth one gets 2 calls, he's only going to be able to handle one because now at that point you hit that 10 limit. So that's what that means. Now, right under it, you have two different settings. You guys remember when I mentioned the word HIPAA? HIPAA is something that's very important when you're dealing with companies that need to be HIPAA compliant. This is a thing that they're legally obligated to be because of the kinds of information that somebody is saying to them over the phone. Meaning, if somebody is talking about their medical records or any kind of sensitive information over the phone, that company needs to be HIPAA compliant, which means in order for them to buy your voice AI system, your voice AI itself has to be HIPAA compliant as well. And this is not something that comes in by default. So make sure that you understand the kinds of companies you're speaking with, because if they do need to be HIPAA compliant, it's a totally different conversation, totally different cause. I'm not even going to get into that at this point right now because you're not going to be talking to HIPAA compliant companies as a beginner. This is going to be something that I might cover later in the future once we get deep into voice AI if we end up taking that route. But it helps for you to understand that this exists because you are going to be in the voice AI space. And here's where you can actually purchase that for your specific organization. The thing under it you have is called zero data retention. For some reason, if you're talking to a company and they want zero pieces of information, not only call recordings, transcripts, logs, literally nothing to be stored on Vappy's side, you're going to have the option right here under zero data retention to purchase that and make it a thing for whatever system you're building for that company. Again, this is not going to be something you're going to run into constantly, but it helps to know that this exists in case a company you're talking to is like, hey, where do we store any piece of information? You can be like, you have the option to store absolutely nothing. We offer zero data retention. That's what that means right now. It means you're not retaining any data that is going into your voice AI system. And again, this is another additional cost from Vappy you're going to have to talk with them about. Now, under it, I'm not going to get into this right now. This is a bunch of API beauty stuff that we will for sure be using when it comes time. But right now, I'm going to leave it because this is not part of the overview. Now, right under that, you have the billing and add-on sections. And in here, you guys can see immediately, if you're getting a brand new account, you get 10 credits completely for free. What does that mean? 10 credits means $10. Every credit is $1. Now, mind you, the way that voice AI priced is because there's all these different components that I talked to you guys about, which is the speech to text, the text to speech models, the AI models, all these different little things that play into making the voice AI what it is. Every single one of them has a cost per minute. And that cost is extremely slow. Let me show you what I mean, okay? Off the bat, this is just an example of credit consumption, okay? Vappy itself, as a platform, no matter what happens, is going to be taking 5 cents per minute from every phone call. If you're using DeepGram as your speech to text, these guys take 1 cent per minute. And then if you're using, for example, GPT-4 Turbo as your AI, and that model costs 20 cents per minute. Then let's just say you're using 11 Labs for your text to speech. Remember, that's the thing that takes your text and actually makes it a voice. And let's just say 11 Labs, they charge 7 cents per minute. And then here's your telephony, right? The thing that actually hosts the phone number. Remember, making phone calls over the internet. These guys want 1 cent per minute. All in all, if this is, your configuration, which by the way is just an example configuration, this would tell you that you are spending 34 cents per minute. And these 34 cents come out of your credits. So keep in mind, these numbers fluctuate. If I'm not choosing 4 Turbo, if I'm using GPT-4o Nano, okay, the price is going to be different per minute for 4 Nano if compared to something like GPT-5 or GPT-4o Mini or whatever. Remember, every single model has its own pricing. So you guys are literally going to see the pricing shift in real time for the per minute as we change different parts of the components. And I already explained to you these components. Again, this is very important stuff. That entire slideshow I showed you about the different components that go into the voice AI, this is exactly what you're looking at, and that's what leads into the cost. So let's just go over them very quickly. You have your telephony. This is the phone number hosting, right? Where your phone number actually lives, and it allows you to do phone calls over the internet. Then you have your text to speech. It takes your text, converts it to speech. This is how the actual response of the AI gets a voice. And then you have the actual AI's brain itself. How much does that cost? And then you have your speech to text. This is your transcription model. It transcribes the voice and makes it into text. And then you have a base fee of Vappy. This is not part of technically not part of the components. This is just Vappy related. But these are going to be your main components that are going into every single voice AI system. So that's what these credits play into right here. Here you have a dashboard. It shows you how many minutes were used over a specific day or weekly. You get to track them over different months down here. And then down here you have different plans, okay? staying on the pay-as-you-go is probably going to be the simplest, unless you guys want something that is totally custom. You guys can see that unless you guys want something totally custom where, let's just say, for example, you're talking to a company and they want to be HIPAA compliant. By the way, being HIPAA compliant is not cheap. Look at how much it costs. It costs $2,000 a month. Mind you, this is something that a lot of companies who do have to be HIPAA compliant, if they do have to be HIPAA compliant at that stage, they're probably pretty damn big for a company. And this is not as big as it seems for them. But to you guys, because you're not in this industry and maybe you've never dealt with companies that have to be HIPAA compliant, you got to know that there's a very real cost attached to HIPAA compliancy if a company needs to be HIPAA compliant. So that's what that looks like. And this is where literally you can turn it on right here with a button. Here's your zero data retention. That is billed at $1,000 per month. Also down here. And look at this. This is your currency. Remember earlier we talked about specific number of phone calls that can be handled at the same exact time, which is 10 phone calls at the same time. If you wanted to up that number, here's where you can up that number. It's going to be down here, okay? And you can see it adds $10 per month for each concurrent line. If I wanted my entire VAPI to handle 30 calls at the same time, that's 30 times 10, which adds to $203 per month, which is going to give you $203 between the period of the month. Obviously, this is something you have to talk with whatever company you're talking to about if they're asking you for a system that handles more than 10 phone calls at the same exact time. And this goes part of the resource consumption. This is not something you handle. Remember that concept, right? You're building a car for them, and this is the fuel that goes into the car. All of these decisions, by the way, are not made by you. These are decisions that are optional that the company that you're talking to gets to decide on if they want it. Down here, you have an option for 60-day call and chat data retentions, meaning everything that happens inside of VAPI with a voice AI gets stored for 60 days. And this is something that is billed monthly at $1,000 per month. Also something that is an option, but probably not going to be something that a lot of companies want unless they have strict regulations and auditing where they definitely want this. So you're not going to be using a lot of these, but it definitely helps to know that they exist and this is where they live. Down here, you can enable auto reload. Okay, you don't want your VAPI to completely stop working when it falls below a specific number of credits. So let's just say you want it to every time it hits like specific number of credits, it gets auto reloaded from whatever card. You can set that up down here. Very helpful to make sure that your service never stops working just because you ran out of credits. Down here, you have a members tab. This is if you have a team and you want to invite different members inside of your organization, inside of your team. I can invite Miles through his email right here. It's inviting a new member. It's super simple, right? I can type in his email and I can give him a specific role. I can make him an admin. So yeah, I can make him an admin. I can make him whatever I want to do right here, but this is where that lives. And then down here, okay, this is one of my favorite parts, okay? Integrations. This tells you what you can and cannot tie into your voice AI. So tell me what you see right here, Miles, because this is something that I clearly talked about earlier. I want to know if you remember what we talked about.
I see a whole bunch of different providers, and if I'm not wrong, those providers are,
We can't see you, by the way. Turn your light on.
if I'm not wrong, those providers are the speech, right? The way that they're different voice models.
So you're like on the edge of the correct answer. Let me tell you real quick. So do you remember that cheat sheet that I showed you?
Yeah.
First of all, let's backtrack. Before the cheat sheet, remember there's different components to a voice AI, right? There's the voice stuff, which is the text to speech, and then there's the actual AI, which is the LLM, and then there's the transcription model, which is the, you know what I mean? Which is the speech to text, all these different components. And I showed you a cheat sheet on this specific diagram right here. I said, here is going to be your telephony. Here's your LLM. Here's your speech to text, This is another like really good cheat sheet. This gives you all the different providers for those components. So you can see voice providers. These are providers that you can use that will give text a voice to your AI, aka these are literal voice providers for your voice AI agent. You guys can see at the very top is 11 Labs. That's the same one that I recommended. And you can see next to it is Cartesia, and you have Rhyme AI. Let me just open up mine, right? Look at the text-to-speech models that I showed you. I showed you 11 Labs, and I recommended that one. And then you have Cartesia Render, and then you have OpenAI, and you have Rhyme. I only left those 4, but there are more than that, okay? There's definitely way more than that. So you don't have to stick to just 11 Labs. You can actually use something like as your speech. If the person that you're talking to specifically is a Microsoft hub, meaning they just want to use a lot of Microsoft products. Or you can experiment, right? You can choose something that you've never used before, like Hume. Okay, you can go sign up for Hume and integrate into them and look at their voices and try them out. Maybe you see something that you really like, a voice that they have that maybe 11 Labs doesn't have. The idea here is every single thing you're looking at is a different company, and every company has a list of voices that you can go and try and choose and throw on top of your voice AI. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is what we're looking at here. Right under it, you have model providers. These are going to be your large language model, aka the AI itself. And what do we have here, right? We have OpenAI, ChatGPT. You have Anthropic, which is Claude. You have Google, which is the Gemini. You have look at this. You have Grokky down here, bro. Grokky right in the middle, bro. Grok series models. And again, I'm going to reference my cheat sheet, but look at the LLM section, right? I put ChatGPT at the top, and then I also put Claude in here and Google Gemini. And I told you we should have thrown Grok in here, but that's what this section is, okay? This is your LLM section, so you can choose specific model, which is the brain for your voice AI. That's what that lives right here. And then right under that, look what you have. Transcriber models. These are going to be the models that are going to be taking that voice and turning it into text. My recommendation is the very, very first one, DeepGram. I already mentioned it inside of my specific thing right here. Look, it's literally the only one I put for you guys. Just to let you know what everything I built and I'm showing you is not something that I just came up with. This is literally from experimentation and from me knowing what's best in the industry right now for the voice AI when you're building your very, very first one off the ground, okay? So this is where you're going to be able to see all those different models and providers down here. And then look down here, okay? Tool providers. What do you think that means?
It's the providers for the tools.
What is a tool, Miles? What are tools when it comes to AI automations or AI systems? What are they? Remember that example of somebody wants to pick up a chicken, they don't have hands.
It's what you give to your AI automation so that it can accomplish tasks.
Exactly. Otherwise, your voice AI is what?
Retarded.
No, conversational. What fuck?
Oh.
Anyways, otherwise, your voice AI is only conversational. And I broke down the difference between conversational and agentic. Okay, this is what makes it. And you guys can see the very first thing you have here is make.com. Okay, it gives you make as an option as one of the tool providers. But then, I mean, there's other things here that are used as tools. Okay, like it tells you that there is a Google Calendar tool. This allows you to manage calendar events and schedule appointments. Same thing with a Google Sheets and go high level. But for the most part, I'm going to show you guys how to configure tools literally into any platform. It doesn't have to be Make. You can see that they don't have any in here, but you can do any if you understand the concept that we're going to be doing. So that's what you have in this integration section, okay? Again, very helpful, very valuable cheat sheet on steroids. It shows you all the different providers for the different components that go into a voice AI. Now, down here, you have a community tab. It says voice library. These are just voices that are used as part of the Vappy community that you have access to use inside of Vappy if you really wanted to. You can open up any of these, listen to it, and if you really wanted to, just make that voice selection from the community, and you have that here. This is not part of any other provider other than Vappy. This is literally like Vappy's own voices. All right, so now we're done with the ugly settings section. The very first section I have under it is your assistance tab. This is your cookbook, Miles. This is where we're going to be cooking our entire system. This is where we're going to be living like 85-90% of the time, and there's a bunch of different things right here. I'm going to cover them in a little bit, but first let me just jump over to the other tabs. So you have squads. Squads is how you're going to be able to assemble multiple AI agents that are going to be working together. Remember when I told you guys that you can build multi-agent systems? Let's just say you have a voice AI that handles help desk, and it can route to other voice AIs that can maybe be responsible for like HR, accounting, whatever. You can create multiple AI systems that will cooperate in a same call, literally an entire fucking front desk team. You can build it inside of Vappy. Extremely cool, and it's a feature called squads. Okay, so it's a little bit complex to actually create, so I'm not going to be jumping into that immediately. Right under that, you have a section for tools. What do you think this is about, Miles?
The section where you'll be putting your tools.
This is a section where all of your tools that you create are going to be listed, okay? And right now, you guys can see there's no tools found because we haven't actually created a tool. So I'm going to walk you through how to create a tool once we're configuring our plumbing voice AI assistant. Right under it, you have a tab for phone numbers. What do you think this one's about, Miles?
I think that's the tab where you'll be keeping your phone
Oh
numbers.
my god, it's almost like it's fucking magic, bro. It's so easy. Like it's self-explanatory. This is where all your phone numbers are gonna be for your VAPI organization. Okay, you can have as many phone numbers as you want. You can actually get a bunch of free phone numbers from VAPI. They allow you guys 10 free phone numbers that you don't have to pay for, and you can import phone numbers from other providers. Now, remember when I said providers that we care about are going to be the ones that allow us to use voice over IP, which is how we make phone calls over the internet, okay? You have a few default here that are very, very commonly used that you can use to import a phone number from into your VAPI. For example, okay, Twilio is one of them. Twilio is one of those telephony platforms that basically allows you to buy a phone number and you can use that phone number in different systems and allows you to do calls over the internet, whatever. Twilio is another platform, and there's other platforms that let you do this. There's Vonage, there's Telnix, and these are the three common default ones that they gave you here. But if there's, for some reason, a specific one, you can actually do this option right here, which means bring your own SIP trunk number. SIP trunk just means essentially one of these, right? SIP trunk, don't let that confuse you. That term just means you are bringing a phone number from a provider that is similar to these that allows you to use voice over IP and allows you to integrate that phone number into a system. Now, here's the beautiful part, okay? Free VAPI numbers. You get up to 10 completely for free. All you have to do is type in your area code and it will throw that phone number inside of your account. It'll activate after 2 minutes if that phone number is available. So we're going to be using this feature, okay? We're going to be spamming this feature. We're definitely going to want to utilize all 10 phone numbers on this account, but that's where we're going to be getting those phone numbers. Right under it, you have voice library. Again, this is the same thing that we covered earlier. And then you have a section under that called API keys. Every time you hear the word API, I want bells to ring in your dome piece, in your head, okay? APIs are very important. You guys can see API keys. You have two different kinds of keys here. Now, these are not the API keys of things that we're integrating into. These are literally our accounts, our VAPI private API keys. How do you think these are going to be used, Miles? Before you answer that question, I want you to think about the example where when we needed to do something using ChatGPT, we had to go inside of ChatGPT and generate a key and then plug that key into the thing that was going to be using ChatGPT. Right now, just replace ChatGPT with VAPI, okay? We're getting VAPI API keys. How do you think this could get used?
It's where we are going to be plugging, isn't it the exact same way how we were using the other API keys? Just plugging it in where it needs to be put in. Obviously, that was the stupid ass answer, but
Give me a better answer. All right.
where are we gonna put
Okay,
these?
I'll walk you through this one.
Give me the keys.
We need these API keys to do things inside of our VAPI account. Okay? Does that make sense? Are you good on that?
We're gonna need the API keys to do things in our VAPI account.
So let's just start there. Now, what are some things potentially that we can do using something that is inside of our VAPI account? What is an example of one thing?
Connecting it to Google Sheets.
Why the hell do we want a voice AI? You know what? Let's just say we want a voice AI to do something when something happens in a Google Sheets. Okay, that's a good example. Whatever. Let's just say we click a checkbox in a Google Sheet. And every time we click a checkbox, we want something to happen with one of our voice AIs. What is that something, Miles?
Confirming an appointment?
Okay, let's just say confirming an appointment. What needs to happen in order for that confirming to actually happen? What is actually happening? What's the process that you're doing to confirm?
You're
Don't think too hard, bro. Let's just say I have a row and I click the checkbox on that row and I want something to happen. What is that something? That something is confirming an appointment. Meaning in that row, there's a bunch of appointment information, right?
Yes.
So what is actually happening when I click the checkbox? What is VAPI doing?
I don't know. What is happening?
Don't think too hard, bro.
I don't know.
When you click that checkbox, you want something to happen with a voice AI, correct?
Yeah. How we would be using the API key?
You said you wanted a Google Sheet and you wanted an automation.
No, fuck the Google Sheet. I want to do Calendly instead.
Okay, let's just say Calendly. All right. You know what? Somebody just booked a calendar booking. We want when somebody books a booking something to happen using something inside of our Vappy account. What is that something?
It's triggering something.
What is it triggering? What's actually happening, bro?
Fuck, I don't know.
What's the main existence of Vappy? What is the core existence of it? What does it do?
I don't know.
Why are we logged into Vappy right now, bro?
To build a voice agent system.
Okay, so let's start there. So you booked a calendar and you want something to happen involving a voice agent system. What is happening?
Somebody's interested in us building a voice agent system.
No,
for them.
let's just say somebody books. What is the actual thing that's happening in Vappy, bro? Like you're building an automation. You're making one up right now off the dome. What is happening? What do you want your voice agent to do?
Notify you?
Okay, so let's just say we want, when somebody books, we want a voice agent to notify us. Okay? That's literally all I was asking. What is happening? To notify us. How is it going to notify us?
Through text message.
No, it's not going to text us. The whole idea for a voice AI is for you to talk to it.
It's going to call us?
So it's going to call you. Okay, now we're stepping forward and making progress. You want, when a calendar booking happens, your voice agent, which is inside of Vappy, to make a phone call. Do you get the picture right now?
Yes.
So now, how are you going to get that agent to make a phone call using this API key?
You're going to connect that API key into whatever service you would be using to dial. Go back to the cheat sheet.
No, you would not be connecting it directly into that service. You would be connecting it into whatever engine you have running. That's the workflow automation engine. So that's going to be make.com or anything. But you're getting close. The idea, Miles, is...
Well, you put the API key into make.com.
You got there. I'm going to seal it home for you. Let's just say, we're going to do a very quick example here on this throwaway. And I need you to understand this. The only reason I'm going to this extent hold up, let me go back. The only reason I'm going this extent to explain this to you is because this is something very important when you're going to be building systems. Okay, you need to know what these keys are. If you have, let's just say you're inside of Make. Okay, we are inside of make.com right now. And we have a node next to another node, next to another node, next to another node, and they're all connected like this. Okay? And this node is your calendar booking. So this activates when somebody on the outside world books a calendar. Okay? This thing lights up green. You see a checkbox, and it's like, boom, confirmation. And then when you click the number 1, which is the output, it shows you all that person's information. First name, last name, phone number, da-da-da, all these things. Now, part of their information here is their phone number. Okay? You following what I'm doing so far?
Yeah.
So there's a phone number in the calendar booking. This next node, this one right here, the one that's right after it, needs to make a call, let's just say to the person that booked. Let's just say, you know what? When somebody books, we want our voice agent to literally call them and thank them for booking. Let's just say that's the example we're doing. In order for you to make this module actually make the phone call from Vappy, you need your Vappy API key. Does that make sense? So you're literally
it'll make more sense when we actually start building it.
You're gonna have a node here where you're gonna be using this API key, and this key is gonna allow you to make phone calls from inside of your automation. Meaning now you're not limited to just receiving phone calls. So if you're only receiving phone calls, you don't need this key right here, because your assistant is just gonna receive calls when somebody calls it. But let's just say you wanted to build a system that makes phone calls. So remember, in order for us to do things inside of other applications, we need an API key. I'm going to say that sentence one more time, and I've been saying it a lot. And I've been saying it a lot for a reason, because I want you to remember this. In order for us to do something in another application, we need the applications API. Okay, you guys, this is not the first time I told you this, and I'm doing it for a reason because, dude, this is like core foundation. So us doing something in this example is us making a phone call. And if we're making a phone call where the AI assistant lives inside of Vappy, what happens here is when it gets to this module, Vappy is going to be like, who are you? And then we're going to validate ourselves by giving it this API key. And it's going to say this API key matches with whatever is here. So you are who you are. Therefore, I will make that phone call for you. And then boom, it makes a phone call. Now, all of a sudden, you just built an AI automation that can make calls to people based on different things that get passed into it. And here's the beautiful thing, Miles. Because make.com allows you to use information from the previous module, right? Let's just say we collected that person's first name and phone number. Well, because the module after it is making a phone call, we can pass that first name and we can pass that phone number into that module that makes the phone call. Therefore, when the voice AI calls that person, it's going to use their first name and it's going to make sure that it knows where that phone call is going because it has their phone number. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. I hope you're not just saying yes to say it. This is very important stuff, and this is not the first time we ran into an API. But if you're going to be deciding to build, what's that?
I literally just have to come back to it more and more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I get it. It's your first time, and I'm sure this is everybody else's first time doing it. But I'm going through this the way I'm going through it right now for a reason. Okay. I want you, and I hope you guys listening to Miles struggle with his thinking process. If you struggle with the same thinking process and saw me push him in the different directions that I pushed him, hopefully that got your brain jogging. But the main explanation is this, okay? It's the fact that we need this API key in order for us to do things revolving around Vappy and voice AI agents inside of our AI automations that we're building, which are in make.com or N8N or whatever workflow automation platform that you're building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, now let's move on to outbound. This section is for phone call. This section is very, very fucking special, okay? Vappy actually allows you to make a bunch of outbound phone calls to a bunch of customers just by you giving it a list. Think about that, Miles. Think about it. You have a CSV, you have a Google Sheet, and there's 20 rows. And 20 rows is a bunch of customers, and you want your voice AI to call all 20 customers. You can do that without even having to do anything extra by creating a campaign here. And then you can name the campaign. You can select the phone number. You can upload your CSV, which has all of the different fields filled out based on their template. And you can choose the assistant. And if you can, and you can either schedule the actual campaign to go on a specific date, or you can send it now and it will literally, bro, call every single customer in that list one by one and do what you want it to do. How fucking crazy is that, Miles?
That's pretty cool.
You can sell just this. Like literally what I'm showing right now, you can sell this as its own package to marketing companies or to anybody who has a list. Or think about people with a CRM full of people that they want to retarget, right? Remember that plumbing where they talked about, hey, we have slow business during, what was it, like February? If they have a list of people, you can just feed that list of people here and then have a voice AI call every single one of them and try to recover business. And it will do this autonomously without you doing a single fucking thing. And this right here by itself is worth a few $1,000s, guys. Take notes. Not a lot of people know this. I'm telling you this because it's very important. The thing right under it is files, okay? What you have here is you can feed different documents and have voice AI agents use them as knowledge bases. Remember when I talked to you guys about creating a simple agent, which is going to be the one that's different from the complex and dynamic agent? If you had a document where, let's just say, there is all the prices for everything in the menu and all the menu items and all the calories and whatever information, and it's all in one PDF, you can upload that PDF and then just point your voice AI to it, and it will be able to use this as knowledge. So this is a super, super quick way for us to build a knowledge base without having to put all that information inside of its system prompt, okay? Again, very helpful, very useful thing for you guys to know that this exists. And then right under it, you have integrations. This is the same page that we talked about earlier. It's the same exact page, just literally in a different way to get to it. Under it, you have a section for testing, okay? I'm not going to go over this right now. This is going to be something that we're going to maybe go over, but technically you really don't even need to do test suites because it's very, very easy to make test calls to your assistant just by calling it directly inside the web or by dialing the phone number. But the easiest thing is by calling it in the web, which you guys are going to see me do once we actually build the voice AI agent. Once we actually build the assistant. And then down here, this is a very important section. It says observe. What does that allow you to do? It allows you to monitor and listen and see what the hell is happening when your agents are getting called. This is we're going to be able to listen to conversations that people have had with your voice AI agent. If you click this call logs, you're going to see a big section here where if somebody called your agent, you're going to get all this different information that's listed right here. You're going to get the call ID, it's which agent they called, what phone number, what's the customer's phone number, why did they end the phone call, if it's a successful phone call, which by the way, we're going to dive into this later, all these different things and so much more if you really wanted to. And the beautiful thing about this is it is also exportable. Meaning if for some reason you're dealing with a company that wants this data at maybe every week or every end of the month, you can click one button here to export it and send it to them in a quick CSV sheet. But this is going to be something very, very important. And we're going to be living here a lot of times just because we're going to want to monitor who's calling our assistant. And when you see calls here, you're going to be able to listen to the phone call and you're going to have a full transcript of the phone call. Basically what the user said and what the AI assistant actually said back to it. These sections under it, chat log and session log and structure output, I'm not going to cover right now just because you really don't even need to know them as a beginner. For the most part, I covered and I showed you every single thing in this dashboard that you should care about and you should know about. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is get into the meat and potatoes of VAPI, which is going to be the configuration section for the AI agents. This is the dashboard where it has all of the different settings that you're going to be configuring for every single component that goes into a voice AI. You have different tabs at the top, and every single tab is going to have its own different settings. So I'm not going to go through each tab and bore you with that. What I'm actually going to do is just start building the damn voice AI, and as I build it, I'm literally going to explain to you guys what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and every single thing as we build. So at this point, right now, Miles, is the official point of us building the very, very first prototype for our plumbing voice AI assistant.
Let's get it.
With that being said, let's fucking go. Now we're going to officially start configuring the voice AI. And ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm going to walk you through every single thing I do as I do it. And I'm going to explain to you what I'm doing while I do it. So Miles, the very first thing that we have here at the very, very top, let me just walk you through what's happening, is you have the assistant's name. Okay, you can name it if you have a bunch of different AI agents. And by the way, when I say the word assistant, that means voice AI agent. Inside of VAPI, they're called assistants. So here you can see you have one called Riley. I'm actually going to change its name and we're just going to name it Miles. And boom, simple as that. Now, a thing right under it is assistant's ID. This is very important field when you're building voice AI systems, because when you are actually doing things inside of make.com or inside of N8N that involve VAPI, it might ask you for the assistant ID, and that's where you're going to be able to grab this field from right here. When we use this, you guys are going to see how this is being used, but for right now, if you just wanted to know where that lives, that's where that lives right here. Now, on the right side, you have a bunch of different things. The very first one, it says the word code. What that means is you can actually get the literal code for every single thing you configure inside of your voice AI assistant. Now, why would you want to do that? Let's just say you wanted to, for some reason, save that configuration or use it in another system or send it to somebody so they can see the entire configuration you made for whatever reason that be. You can actually pull the entire code of your configuration. The only thing you have to do is by clicking this button right here, and you can see immediately this is the entire configuration. And we can tell that this is our configuration because look at this. We have a key value pair right here in the code, and look at this name, Miles. So just this little tiny piece of code is just saying the assistant's or the voice AI agent's name is Miles. You guys can see there's a bunch of other different configurations, like for example, which voice you're using and which model you're using. You don't need to know all these different things right here, but if you for some reason wanted the entire configuration, that's going to be in this code section. Right next to that, you have testing option. Okay, what you can do is you can create a test suite and you can actually test your assistant inside of this. I'm not going to be covering this one right now. We're going to cover it later in the future because we want to get up and running with our testing very quickly. And we can just very quickly test our agent by calling it inside of our web browser, which you can probably guess the way to do that is by literally clicking this talk to assistant button. If I click this and I'm on my computer right now and there's a mic connected and there's some speakers, you can talk to your voice AI inside of the browser without having to actually call the phone number for that AI. Just makes it very, very quick and easy for you to test things on the fly. Right next to that, you have the word publish or published. What this means is every single change that you make to your voice AI agent, you have to publish that change before it actually goes into live and goes into effect and it actually starts to get used. For example, if I change the first message right here, I'm just gonna add something random. You can see that the button now, instead of the word published, shows publish and it's actually clickable. That just means that you made some sort of change to the configuration of your voice AI, and then you have to obviously publish them for those changes to take effect. So you can see that when it's grayed out and it's not clickable, that means everything is already published the way that it is right now. Now, right after that, you have three little dots. Okay, in these three dots, you have version history. Every single time you make a change and you click publish, that saves a version of that system. So if you make a bunch of changes and they all get published, you can actually look at the history of the different versions. So you can see right now we're on the current version of this one and it gives it like a version number right here. But if for some reason you wanted to look at a previous configuration that you published, you can look on the version history inside of this button right here. Under it, you have a quick way to get to the call logs. This is just for when people start calling this voice system and you want to either listen in on those calls or look at the transcript. Just very, very quickly get to them from here. It's also the same button down here on the observe section when you click on call logs. And then right under it, you have the option to duplicate an agent. Let's just say, for example, you already built a very good voice agent and you want to make another version of it where only one tiny thing is different. What you can do is click this duplicate button, and what it'll do is it will now create a copy of it. You guys can see now I have Miles copy, and it's going to have the word copy in the name. This is just another duplicate of the entire voice AI agent's configuration on the left side here. So this just allows you to quickly make duplicates of the voice AI system after every configuration that you want to make to it. And now we are at probably the most important parts of this entire config. Off the bat, you guys are going to be able to see a bunch of different tabs at the very top. Miles, could you please take a very wild and educated guess and tell me what the fuck do you think these tabs are about?
I think each of the tabs are for the model, voice, transcriber, the tools, the analysis, the compliance, and the advanced, right?
Dude literally just read off the tabs. Holy fucking brain cells. Bro, there's no way you're a real person, bro. What are... Bro said, I think there are the model and the voice and transcriber and tool. Bro, no shit. That's literally what they're labeled as. What is this stuff, Miles? What are these? Like, have you seen these before? Have I talked about any of these? What is this?
It's the compounds to the agent.
It's the what?
Compounds.
The compounds?
What the voice agent is going to
You
be made of.
you mean components?
Components.
Yeah, this guy is not real. Yes, bro. It's the different components to the voice AI. It is the different components to the voice agent, right? Obviously, model is going to be what? It's going to be the AI's brain, the LLM, the actual thing that powers its intelligence. Right after it, you have a voice section. This is going to be for selecting that text to speech model, okay? The thing that takes your text and makes it into speech. And then you have transcriber. That's the speech to text model, right? Takes the speech, turns it to text. And then you have tools. This is how you're going to give your voice AI tools for it to actually do things in other business applications. And then you have analysis and compliance. These are just going to be things that allow you to look into what's actually happening when people are talking to this voice AI assistant and how it should react based on specific things. We're going to cover those when we do our configuration. And then advanced is going to have a bunch of more extra tweaks, such as how long the assistant waits when it needs to start talking, or when it should stop talking, or if you have background noise, and all these different crazy settings you're going to be able to either toggle on or off or configure. We're going to cover those when we actually do our build. But off the top, you guys can see the main components is the fact that you can control the different components for your voice AI assistant. Now, Miles, right under that, we're going to see two different breakdowns, okay? Can you tell me what you think these are and like how they're relevant in our voice AI?
I think it's the cost and the latency, and it's relevant because it shows the whatever model we're using, it shows the cost and the latency of that model.
I love your answers because you just tell me what's in front of you. Dude, so
Was I
I
wrong?
want you. No, you're technically not wrong. So dive deeper into the cost. You see cost and you see different colors. That's what I'm asking about here. What do you think goes like? What is this? What is the breakdown? And what is this latency? And why is there different colors? Just take a wild guess. Let me know what you think.
I think the colors are representations of different costs in the model.
You were like 95% correct. The only thing you said wrong was the last word. Model tab, which is a component, right? And then you have the voice component, and then you have the transcriber component. And remember, we talked about every single one of these components having their own costs, right? So your speech to text model and your text to speech model and your AI, they're all gonna have different costs to them, right? So that's what you're seeing down here. And the fact that there's different colors, it literally tells you when you hover over them. So if I hover over this green color, what do you think this says? Like, tell me, what do you think that is?
Hosting Vappy. That's how much. It's saying that Vappy costs 5 cents per minute.
Just literally for existing. Right? And then what's this cost?
The transcriber.
And it tells you which transcriber that is, right? It's DeepGram. And what is that costing us?
1 cent per minute.
And then what's the other cost that's going into this?
GBT4. And that costs.
No, that's 4.0.
4.0.
Right? And what's the cost on that one?
7 cents.
7 cents per minute. And then what's the final cost here?
The voice.
And who's that coming from?
Vappy.
It's coming from Vappy. And how much does that cost?
2 cents.
2 cents per minute. So all in all, if you add these cents, you get a total of 15 cents per minute when this voice AI is being called and talked to. Now, notice what happens here, Miles. I want you to look at this, okay? Right now, if I go down here, I'm in the model configuration section. And if I click a drop down here where it says provider, what are you going to see? You're going to see a bunch of different options, right? What is this stuff? These are different AI model providers, right? You have Grokky right here, right? XAI. And then you have Anthropic, which is Claude. And then you have Google's Gemini. And you have all these different AIs, right? ChatGPT is not the only AI model that exists in the world. There's other ones. So this tells you that you can select models from other providers. Now, what do you think is going to happen if I select XAI, Miles?
It's going to give you the XAI model, which is Grokky.
It's going to give you the XAI models with an S, right?
Models.
So all of these here are companies, they're providers, and they have different models, right? So let's just say we're right now on ChatGPT, and we click the model dropdown. What are we going to see here? We're going to see all of the different ChatGPT models that are available for us to use inside of our voice AI. Right? You have 4.0 and 4.0 cluster, and you have 4.1 and 5 nano and all these different things. So if I clicked off of OpenAI and I went to XAI, which is Twitter, which is Grokky, I open this up. What are they going to be our options? Look at our options, bro. They're all Grok.
You got Grok 4.
Grok 4, fast, non-reasoning. Grok 2, Grok 3, Grok Beta, and Grok 4, fast reasoning. Now, we have the option to select from different Grok versions, right? Grok models. The only reason we can see this is because we selected XAI as the provider. Now, notice we don't have to plug in an API key to use this. That's the beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing about Vappy is all of these models you can just click into and select, and they'll just charge you whatever charge they need for that model, right? So look at this. Right now, we selected XAI, and we have Grok fast non-reasoning. We just changed it from ChatGPT. What's going to happen when I click publish is I want you to see this price right here, which is what, at 15 cents per minute. As soon as I click publish right here, I'm going to click next, publish, and I want you to look at the price. What just happened?
What, 9 cents a minute.
It dropped. And the reason why it dropped, we can actually see that inside of here. So Vappy didn't change. Vappy's still 5 cents. And DeepGram, the transcriber, didn't change. That's still 1 cent. But look at the price now for Grok fast non-reasoning. What is that?
It's 1 cent.
Not even 1 cent. It's half a cent, bro. So obviously going from whatever ChatGPT's price, which I don't know if it was like 7 cents or whatever, to this significantly dropped our price down. Okay, now we're at 9 cents per minute compared to 15 per minute. And we can see that us choosing Grok is the reason why. Now, the second reason I'm showing you this is I want you to see that no matter which provider you change, you're going to get the cost up here. So if I went into, let's just say the voice section, okay, and I wanted to change the voice right here, okay, I can see the provider, same exact thing. I have a list of different voice providers. Remember our cheat sheet, Miles, right? Remember our cheat sheet, Miles? I said there's a bunch of different voice providers, which is this section right here, text-to-speech models. And the one I recommended was 11 Labs. So in here, if I go to the voice provider section, I'm going to see a shit ton of them. This is all of them. And I can see that Cartesia is up here, and 11 Labs is right under it, and Vappy's right here, and Rhyme, and all these different ones. So right now, I'm on Vappy, and then here's the voice selection. There's a bunch of different voices that you can choose and apply to your voice agent. Now, obviously, in order for you to know what these voices are, you're going to have to select them and then give it a quick call right here. And this is going to allow you to talk to it, and you get to decide if this is a voice that you want or you don't want. Which, by the way, is a very important decision, right? Obviously, every single time you build a voice AI, the very first primary component about it is how it sounds. So you want to make sure that you are making the selection properly to what's expected from you from the company that you're talking to. But the idea here that I'm trying to tell you, Miles, is let's just say, you know what, we chose Cartesia, right? We exited out of Vappy and we chose this Kira voice, whatever. I'm going to click publish and look what happens to the price, right? As soon as I click publish, I'm going to click next.
It's about to skyrocket.
And boom, did it change at all? No, it did not change. So this price is technically the exact same because they are literally, it didn't even change. It's still the same number, right? 2 cents. But if we were to do something else, like let's just say 11 Labs, and we chose Sarah, and I click publish on 11 Labs, let's just see what happened. But if I were to choose something like 11 Labs, right? I just chose 11 Labs and I click publish on Sarah. Look at the price right now. What is it now? It is 10 cents. It just went from 9 cents to 10 cents, okay? And the reason why we can see over it is like the price is not 0.022, it's 0.036. It went up just by a little bit, but it's still enough to make a change on what the actual price is. Now, one more extremely important thing here, Miles, is that the price is not the only thing that's changing. It also, the latency is also changing. And let's just do a very quick reminder. What is latency, Miles? I explained this to you, but I want you to tell me what is latency.
Are you gonna be mad at me if I don't remember?
I might get fucking pissed off and throw the fucking mic at you, but I don't know, bro. Let me know.
Wait, hold up. Let me just ask ChatGPT really quick.
No, you're supposed to ask your fucking brain. All right, bro, I'll tell you. Listen, latency, okay? Latency is the time it takes for the system. Oh my God.
I remember that.
Now he's going to pretend like
I just had to get a refresh.
Now he's going to pretend. All right, listen, man. Latency is the time it takes between when the system receives the input and then it returns the response to the person that's saying something, okay? This is how long it takes for everything to happen. And right now, this is at 1,000 milliseconds. And just like cost, there's different things that go into latency. So if I hover over it, I can see that DeepGram is responsible for 100 milliseconds. And I can see that Grok Fast Now Reasoning is responsible for 400 milliseconds. And I can see 11 Turbo V2.5 is another 400 milliseconds. And then the final thing is the fact that it is being transported over the web. Remember, phone calls over the internet, that is costing 100 milliseconds. All in all, you get 1,000 milliseconds. And remember, you want to be anywhere between 350 to ideally your green is like 850, 900. If you can get your system between 300 to 900, that is very good. 1,000 is still very good, by the way. It's not like terrible, but it's still doable, okay? It's doable. But now you're like exiting the green if we're looking at like maybe green, orange, and then red. You're like just now touching the orange.
We need it to be in the perfect area though.
Because it's milliseconds, Miles, it's not really noticeable, right? Your brain is not going to calculate 100 milliseconds and know that this thing is 100 milliseconds slower or faster. You know what I mean? So the only time you would feel a difference is if you're comparing like 1,000 milliseconds to 1,800 milliseconds. Now that is definitely a difference, okay? Or if you're comparing like 2,000 milliseconds to 900, that's a big difference. But if you're comparing like 1,000 to 900 or maybe 900 to 1,100, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's still gonna be pretty smooth and pretty fluent. And you can see that changing different components in our voice AI is gonna change the latency here. So if I went down to voice and I switched out of 11 Labs and I went back to Vappy Elliott and I click publish, and now let's see the latency. Where are we at right now, Miles?
Perfect.
We're at the 850 mark, okay? And the reason we're at the 850 mark is because the Vappy voice latency is 250 instead of 400, which means this is a damn pretty fucking good fast latency for our system. When somebody says hi to it, by the time the system actually responds to them, it's not going to be very robotic, right? You're not going to have a big space in the middle. This is pretty good. Again, big idea is multiple components play into this latency, and you want to keep an eye for this latency. Very important for how realistic and natural your voice AI sounds. Now let's jump down here, okay? We chose provider, and we just chose Grok for fast noun reasoning. Right under, you're going to see first message mode. This is just a mode that you can select that defines how it's going to say the very first thing it says to the user when somebody calls it. Let's just look at the different options, right? Is it supposed to speak first when you call it? Is it supposed to wait for the other person on the line to say something before it says something? Or is it supposed to say something with a randomly generated message that it creates instead of something that you tell it? These are going to be the three different options right here. For the most part, if this is an inbound system, meaning it's taking phone calls from the outside, you want obviously whoever to pick up the phone to say something first. Hey, thanks, blah, blah, blah. How can I help you? Thanks for calling, whatever, right? That's going to be assistant speaks first. And when you select that, you're going to get an option down here that says first message. Now, what do you think that is, Miles?
That's going to be the message that it says when they call the voice agent.
That's
And
exactly.
it's like, hi, this is Anmar with OpenStep AI, or with Pure AI. I may make your day a better day today.
Hype shit, it's exactly what it is, bro. That's literally this, the very first message. So you get to type whatever you want here, and then you get to listen to the AI say it, and if you like it, you can keep it. Obviously, it'll say anything. I don't know if it'll cuss or like call people monkeys and stuff like that. I mean, you could try it. I have no idea, but it might do it, bro. So the whole idea is this is your first message, okay? Just says the very first thing. Under it, Miles, is when shit starts to get fucking real, okay? What do we have here, bro?
The system prompt.
The system prompt, bro. This is the literal heart and bread and butter of your voice AI, okay? Now we're going to be touching on something that is very special, Miles. And the reason why this is special is because, and I'm going to say this to you right now, and I'm not just going to say it, I'm actually going to write it down on a board so you can solidify this in your brain.
Say it, don't squirt it.
Nah, I think I'd rather squirt it, bro. And that thing is, Miles, is that voice AI system prompting is absolutely not and should not and will not be treated the same as regular system prompting that we basically what we've been doing inside of make.com and N8N for all these different AI models. Okay, it's not the same. It's different. And the reason why, Miles, and I'm so happy you asked me why, is because when you're dude, stop fucking doing this, bro. I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to make you fucking rich. And you're over here bullshitting with me, bro. What is that? What are you doing? And what's that shit AI generated, bro? That shit don't even look like me. The reason why it's different, Miles, is because system prompting for voice AI needs something called call orchestration. Okay, you've heard me say this term before. What that means is you are actively walking the voice AI step by step what its job is, what it should say when certain things are said to it, and you are literally walking it through the entire call process almost ahead of time in its system prompt. You're not telling it. So with that being said, there is a literal structure to this, okay? There is a structure you need to follow. And that structure is what I'm about to explain to you right now, okay? There are best practices for basically system prompting a voice AI. And they're a little bit different than the other structure that you use for system prompting AI models that are inside of N8N or make.com. And that structure needs to not only explain to the AI every single step and section of that call process and call conversation that you would have studied and figured out ahead of time. It needs to tell it when those sections would happen. And not only that, it needs to tell it all of the different ways that the call can go inside of those sections. The reason you need to do that is because it needs to be walked through the different possibilities that the conversation can go. And this ties back into understanding whether it's a dynamic and long conversation or if it's a stable and predictable and short conversation, because you're going to have to literally bake that conversation and that logic into its system prompt. So that way it knows what it needs to say, what it needs to do, and what needs to happen at every section of that call process. it's much more detailed than system prompting outside of it, right? You're literally walking it through something and the potential possibility of where things can go when it's doing that task. Now, there's one more thing that you need to understand, and that this system prompt needs to be in a specific format, okay? And it's gonna be a brand new format that I'm introducing to you right now, and that format is called Markdown. What Markdown is just a way of writing things that keeps things organized in a way that allows whatever system to look at it, in a way that allows whatever system is dealing with it to not only quickly organize what's in it, but interpret it and relate it to other things without getting lost. The system
Well, I
prompt,
have a question.
yo,
Would we only use Markdown for voice AI?
you can technically use Markdown for any sort of AI prompting, but it works extremely well for voice AI in the voice AI world is where it's going to be its primary use when it comes to dealing with voice AI systems, because Markdown itself as a format, all it is a way to structure, to give instructions some sort of structure, and to give that structure an outline so that whenever something is reading the Markdown or dealing with it or actually trying to use it, it can quickly at a glance understand the different parts of the thing that it's looking at, and it can understand what goes into the specific parts. All Markdown is just a structure. That's all it is. So technically, if you had a system prompt that's inside of N8N or Make.com, you can turn your system prompt into Markdown format. All that would do is just take your system prompt and just restructure it in a way that makes it more organized for the AI to use when it's actually using it. That's all it is. And you can see that makes sense because when you're dealing with call orchestration, aka you're walking the voice AI step by step, different sections of a call process, right? And every section has different things in it. Let's just say the first section is taking an order. Well, it could ask them for a menu item, it could ask them for a side, and it could ask them for maybe a drink. These are three different possibilities in this section. So you guys can see that every single section is going to be its own thing. And if you just dump all of this in a system prompt without organization, the AI might perform less intelligently when dealing with it just because it's going through a different processing pattern when it's trying to look at its own instructions. Whereas if you put it in Markdown, okay, it's going to be able to look through these instructions much quicker and much easier. It's going to be able to interpret them quicker, which means the output that it generates is just going to be higher quality because it has an easier time working with its own instructions. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And just to solidify things, I don't know if this is going to help you or not, but I just went to Google and I said, what is Markdown format, right? The technical definition is a lightweight markup language. It uses simple, easy to read, and easy to write plain text formatting. Syntax just means the actual format that it's at. And it was created to allow users to write things in a way that is easily readable in its raw form. Think about the idea of your voice AI system being able to easily read its own instructions. How much better of an output is it going to generate for you because it has an easier time dealing with its own instructions? This is what Markdown does for us. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yes.
So it's just a way to make the system prompt simpler and easier to understand by the voice AI that's going to be using it. And look at this, Miles. We're inside of Vappy right now. Mind you, I didn't write the system prompt. This was a system prompt that was just given to us off the very, very creation of our account. I want you to see something. Do you see this? Do you see these little hashtags right here?
Yeah.
This system prompt is already in Markdown. Vappy gave us this system prompt in Markdown, and this is literally an example of what Markdown looks like. You guys are going to see it's very simple, very straightforward. All it is it's taking the system prompt and it's breaking it into different sections, okay? So you can see that the very, very first thing, it has one hashtag because this is the overall biggest section. The more hashtags you have, the more in-depth you are in that section. So look at this one, right? 2 hashtags, identity and purpose. This tells the AI that when it sees this, it knows this is the start of a section called identity and purpose. And then immediately right under it, because there's not other hashtags, it knows that whatever here is part of the content belonging to this section. Now look right here, voice and persona. Okay, this is a section. it has 2 different hashtags. Look under it. What do you see here? You see 3, right?
Yeah.
Because there are 3 hashtags under a section with 2, that tells the voice AI that these instructions belong to this section. That's all that means. So that's all it's doing. Same thing right here, right? Look at this. This is 3 hashtags, and this is 3 hashtags. And you can see that both of these are under the 2 hashtag title of this section, which means that these are instructions for the personality and these are instructions for speech characteristics. And ultimately, both of these instructions fall under the voice and persona category. Does that make sense?
Yes, because they have 3 under the one that has 2.
Exactly. This is just a section heading that belongs under a bigger section heading. And again, the large language model that's reading this is able to interpret this and use it much better instead of just dumping all the text inside of here. This is just much more organized. And you need that organization because you're dealing with call orchestration.
How come it's not 1 hashtag?
If it was 1 hashtag, then that means everything would be under that 1 section. And
is it usually the prompt?
Huh?
Is that where you put prompt?
What do you mean
the
prompt?
For one hashtag, you only put the prompt there, or what?
What are you talking about?
Right there.
Technically, we don't even need this hashtag. All this is just the big, like, imagine if we had a Google Doc, okay? And imagine if we had a Google Doc, okay? I'm just gonna try to translate what you're looking at here. The name of the actual document itself, let's just say test, is the name of the document. This name being test, the equivalent of that would be this thing being named test, okay? And then this section right here, identity and purpose. If I were to go inside of my Google Doc and I were to take this and just, you know what I mean, make it a, oh, this is actually perfect right here. Look, do you see title? The reason why it's so big and it's so bold, this title is the equivalent of this 1 hashtag. And look under it, right? You have a heading 1. Heading 1 is just a title of a heading that belongs under this title, right? It's just part of it. It's all under this big umbrella. And you can see there's heading 2, which goes under heading 1. And then there's heading 3, which goes under heading 2. All this is saying that if I had heading 1, for example, and I wanted a section under this heading 1 that's called identity and purpose, I would now, and say I selected heading 2, okay? I would now be writing in another heading that belongs to this section. And if I had a section even under this one, this would be technically heading 3. So look, now it got even smaller. So this section belongs to this section, and this section is under this big umbrella of being under identity and purpose.
Makes sense.
Does it actually make sense?
Yeah. Honestly, it made sense even without the Google Docs explanation, but the Google, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
So do you have to put that thing back to what it was?
Now, Miles, before we actually create the system prompt for our voice AI system, I have to explain to you this system prompt format and actually what's going into this call orchestration. If I don't do this, I'm just setting you up for failure and I'm going to be building shitty voice AI systems. You understanding this is very important and very crucial to you being able to build very good quality voice AI for companies. So I'm going to take a good chunk of time of our build for this system, basically going to be explaining to you system prompting for this voice AI and all the different components that go into it because it's that important. This literally determines if your system does good or does shitty job at what it's supposed to do, which is why this is technically the bulk of our build. So let me go through and actually start explaining to you what's happening here.